I did manage to imagine a different future, and I do see myself as a scholar. It is my sword and a shield in the times that are difficult, like fighting for funding for refugees and asylum seekers. It changed my practice entirely. I teach differently, I write differently, I understand my students. That's in line with the research in this area. And the last point, it did increase my sense of a belonging. I was lost in a BALIP conference in Leeds in 2019, and when I went to BALIP 2023, it felt like going home. So thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Ivana and Eric. We just have 2 or 3 minutes left for questions. It did struck me both of those, the importance of institutional culture. But if anyone has a question, could they put it into the chat? And while anyone's got their questions, putting them into the chat, Alex, since you're the holder of the physical book, could you give me a number between 1 and 20?
What
And
a
any question.
responsibility.
I know.
I'm going to go for 15.
15. Okay. I'll save the results till the end. So Will's got a question. Are you unionized in Hong Kong, Eric?
No, unfortunately. So it's mainly the bond, the connection is mainly small communities, small groups. So when we are going to build COPs, so it's mainly initiated by, very passionate, very enthusiastic practitioners who will lead workshops and seminars, who will, connect everyone together. But in terms of unions for tertiary teachers, well, how should I put it? There was one, but there wasn't much done regarding, COP or things like that. So yeah, so no, I would say.
Okay, thanks for your answer. Am I allowed to respond, or? Yeah, because I think like it was really interesting hearing about your context, and I think there's so many similarities between Hong Kong and the UK, and in Ivana's context as well, and we all kind of face those issues where in particular in relation to kind of promotion pathways. And I just thought it was interesting. I mean, in our context, we're not on any kind of pathway or track or anything like that. We're kind of stuck as teachers. Whereas you've got this pathway, but then it doesn't actually seem. It kind of, from my understanding, it kind of allowed you to kind of have more kind of respect in the institution, but not actually any financial reward. Is that right? Or
That's true. And thinking about that, when you are doing more in the institution, it means you're easier to be leveraged or easier to be manipulated to do more. So it feels like that the more passionate you are, the more you are punished in some sense. So this is how we all feel. So for example, can I use a couple of minutes to wrap up my okay. So recently we've got a space issue. So we have one of our campuses returned to the university proper. So many of our colleagues have to come back to our one of our campuses. And then I share I share my room with a couple of colleagues. And inside this room, we are very tight-knit community, small community. But each of us who are all LAMB researchers would have some roles that really take away the space and time for us to undertake scholarly research. For example, there is a service learning subject leader who keeps being told to do more. And then there is another minority language linguist who get informed of becoming a program leader without negotiation or without discussing. So having these added on roles to these colleagues does not mean there is a promotion, nor there is such a thing like financial incentives and things like that. And one thing that is even more sarcastic is that we have a budget for some service learning courses like for every semester for the class, for the cohort. And then one of our colleagues didn't get it approved. And one of our management said, if you really want to get the budget, I will have to reduce your salary. So how did it make sense? Like, the more you want to do something in this institution, the more you get, taken away from. So this is our situation. Strange, right? But thank you for your question.
Yeah, no, thanks, Eric.
Can I ask about the criteria, Eric, in your context?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how they came about, or whether there are moves to develop? Because you were talking about criteria for scholarship and promotion, I think, earlier.
So every year we have the appraisal for the Lane B. So it was like if you can get if you can secure a major funding by the government as the principal investigator, and if you can get a Q1 journal published, that can give you like a very satisfactory or well exceeding the satisfactory level. So that means aside from Q1 journal publications and major grant proposals, any other thing else are not important. But when they are considering your membership, before you change from lane A to lane B, it seems that everything takes into the account. Like you have to have publications, you have to have the some seed fundings and all these things going on. So the criteria is never clear in terms of how you can survive in the lane, or what it means if you can't get the enough publications. The worst you can get is you go back to lane A and get 18 hours of teaching.
They didn't make any specific scholarship related one, because they sounds like they're from research track ones.
Yeah, and as I told you, there was some senior managers saying that monographs are not valuable. So can you imagine this came from someone from an academic institution, and we also got other situations or other examples that we have another minority language linguist getting a major fund, and then there was someone from the senior management saying, I don't know why he could get the fund, because I don't understand what he's doing. So this to me, this is an institution that doesn't know anything about scholarship, or in general doesn't know anything about research. So unless there is something tangible coming from the let's say engineering or sciences disciplines, they will count as something significant or commendable. But for humanities, what we are doing are insignificant to them. I've got lots to say about my institution. Sorry, venting.
Has anyone got any questions they'd like to ask Ivona?
I can ask another question. If no one else has got one, I can ask one, but I'm happy for someone else to ask one if someone else has got one, because I don't want to be the only one asking questions. It's
okay, Will, you go.
Yeah, okay. So
thinking.
So my question was about that concept of agentic, Ivona, which thanks for sharing that. I think that's really interesting idea, the idea that it's an informed decision, and you can also choose to do nothing, and that's also an informed decision. But I suppose I was just wondering, and it kind of going back to what Eric said as well, about how it's a very small percentage of people in the department who are actually actively involved in scholarship. I think that's the same in our department as well. It's a very small minority of people who do it. And I think you could say that a lot of those people have chosen not to do it. And that is an informed decision that they've made. But I also think, or I would kind of argue, that it's also the kind of the conditions of their working conditions, with lots of teaching, all of those pressures and kind of focus placed on teaching, lack of support, all of those, which is actually kind of forcing them to make that informed decision. So even though you could argue that they're kind of, or the people are choosing not to engage in scholarship, and that's an informed decision, maybe fundamentally they're still not agentic, if you know what I mean. Did it discuss that, or what do you think about that?
I think there are many reasons why people may not be engaging with scholarships, and there could be, and I think we need to discover why, you know, and just speak to those who don't do it. And you know, I can only, you know, my own position was always that, you know, not doing scholarship is like teaching a language you do not speak. So for me, that was never, my values were aligned, but how to get there was unclear. And that's where I needed help. But you know, there are myriad reasons why people may not engage with it, and I think it will be, and that's not, people may not want to discuss that in the open. That's where research is quite good, because it does offer anonymity, and it may be that, you know, they don't see their role as being, maybe they don't see the value, maybe they don't see that they belong to EAP community. That's one thing that I remember being asked by a researcher in 2018, how big I can dream EAP to be. And my dream was very small, and it was very local. I dreamed of being a grade 7, so getting a promotion, and that was it. But that's what I could only see. And when I started engaging with a wider EAP community, and I saw that there were different contexts, I could, you know, I could start dreaming bigger. And at that time, the researcher asked, "What about, how far can you go? Grade 8, maybe professorship?" And at that time, you know, I had a giggle, and I said, no way. And look, we've got 2 professors in our group. Just, I don't know if B is still here, but big congratulations to B and Alex. You know, you can. At that time, I could not see it. So whether there are people who still don't want to engage with EAP as community, I see now EAP as people. You know, for me, EAP is you, because we are in the SIG together. It's Lucy, because we wrote a proceedings paper together. Is Alex, is B, is people, that it's people, and I want to engage with them. For me, that's really real. But for many years it wasn't. So in that sense, perhaps that's one answer why. I don't know if this is an answer at all. So
Thanks, everyone. It's interesting how the people around you shaped your sense of agency as well. Yeah. There's other questions now, so I'm going to be quiet.